everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we are going to be doing a roast and review of the BET Awards 2021 red carpet. Unlike a majority of the red carpets that we react to, I actually know what BET stands for, Black Entertainment Television. I'm pretty excited for this red carpet. I think it's a good mixture of sort of high-end designers who are luxury, ready-to-wear icon sort of starlets to a lot of cool, young, up-and-coming designers as well, so I think it'll be fun. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So first up, we have Andra Day. Now, she is wearing Rosie Assoulin, who is a New York-based designer who is very much so known for volume, color, silhouette. It's all sort of big, bold, funky, chunky. I enjoy Rosie Assoulin. She's sort of, I don't want to say fallen off is not the word, but she's definitely sort of stepped back from the limelight of the New York fashion scene. Honestly, I think that this little Andra Day sort of voluminous pink moment with floral motifs in white is a nice little moment. I believe this is from the spring 2019 collection. And now essentially you can see that it's a sort of fitted little bodice, almost like a slip dress of sorts in this light pink with the white sort of floral motif going all the way up. And then when you hit sort of like around the top of the hip, sort of like a drop waist moment, you're getting this big sort of flounce out. And then when it hits about right above the top of the hip, you're getting like a drop waist sort of silhouette. Here we have this big sort of flounce that comes out, and then underneath that is the rest of the dress or the skirt underneath. In reality, I think it's definitely interesting. I won't say that this particular stance, or at least angle that it's shot at, is the most flattering. I think it just looks a little bit strange in that regard, but I do actually think the dress is kind of nice. It's kind of fun. I think it's definitely signature Rosie Assoulin. It is weird because I feel like the drop waist is slowly inching its way back into fashion. Honestly, I can't tell if it's like the whole 1920s, 2020s, Roaring 20s Part 2, the remix situation going on here. That could be a reason why. But I actually do think it's interesting that it's not just sort of a slouchy drop waist moment. It's more of a, let's bring attention to the hip, but thigh area. It's not my favorite Andra Day look, but in reality, I do like that she's working with younger designers. I do think it's an interesting risk taken, but I think that there are better Rosie Assoulin looks that could have been pulled for this moment. Next up is Ashanti, and she is wearing Julien McDonald. Now, Julien, again, I don't want to say fallen off, but fallen off is probably the better word. I think that this dress, it's sheer, it's full of sort of silver, glittery embroidery, full of motifs, has a very sort of art deco-y feel. I don't know, it's just like the sort of sharp triangular lines. That's what's giving me art deco architecture. It feels a little bit like it's from a long time ago. Again, listen, the art deco thing, maybe it's a 20s reference. It could be, I hope that it's not, but it just feels very 2010. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very, oh, this is something that somebody would have worn on a red carpet 10 years ago. And listen, while I love a reference back to a time that is not now, 10 years is a little bit close. You know what I mean? Like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, that I can deal with. That I can handle. That I can say, okay. 2010, we're still recovering. We're still in the therapy period from that experience. So let's not do that. You have the shoulder pads, you have the little fringe on the cuffs, you have just a sort of form-fitted dress. It's just not doing much. I don't think it really speaks to the current fashion landscape. I don't think it speaks well on behalf of the fashion landscape from the 2010s. It's just a blah dress that's not exciting, nor interesting, nor necessary whatsoever. So I want better for Ashanti, and I want Julien McDonald to not ever do this ever again. Thank you. Next up is Big Latto, and I actually do not know who she is wearing. I will say, I think it's a bit banal. Listen, you have orange, that's great, it's vibrant, it's amazing. I think it is something that we've been seeing quite a lot now, but it's just a blah dress in that regard. Listen, I get it. It's pleated, it has texture, it curves and swerves, it's diagonal, it has a little bit of a cutout with a crystallized sort of bra top underneath. There's a pink glove and a red high platform sandal shoe, and then there's sort of a big train. But just because it's a lot of stuff doesn't mean that it looks good or is exciting or is risky or is an experimentation for her. And that's my issue, is I think Big Latto has, I don't know, a lot more to say than orange, nondescript gown that I've seen so many different times, but done far better than this one. There's just nothing exciting to it. I also don't know if it fits all that well. I don't think that there's anything experimental about it. I don't think there's anything exciting about it. I don't think there's anything fun about it. It just seems like a dress I've seen a million different times at this point. But again, it's not even drawing me in. I don't think it's particularly done super duper well in a way of, oh, you know what? It's fitted so beautifully. At least I can appreciate that. There's nothing about it that I'm like, wow, amazing. I'm like, wow, let's move on. Next up is Cardi B, and she is wearing Misha Japanwala, and in reality, it is pretty much just a mold of her body, which honestly, kind of love. I feel like it's been a trend. It's been happening from Schiaparelli to Balmain to other people. It's been happening recently for a while, but has a really beautiful long history in the fashion space. If you guys want me to do a video about that, I'm working on one, so don't worry. I actually think these are kind of fun. I think they're interesting. I think they're really cool. Cardi was announcing that she was in fact pregnant or is with child, which we love. We're so happy. At the same time, I think that this white is very jarring. I think it's really exciting. I think it's really, really fun. I think it looks really beautiful. Would I say it's like super duper fashion? No, but it feels more sort of editorial to me. And so in that regard, it's nice to see. Next up, we have Chloë Bailey, and she is wearing Valentino. Now, this is from the fall 2021 ready-to-wear collection. I have to say, as soon as I saw it, this sort of nouveau take on a fishnet moment, I could tell it was Valentino because I'm pretty positive that during the most recent haute couture collection, I think was spring 2021 haute couture from Valentino, we saw sort of styles like this that are almost like cage lattice motifs, but in this curved sort of way. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very fun. And at the same time, you can see in this little curved lattice sheer dress that on the end of each of these curves or at the bottom, there's a little flounce of lace on each one, which to me just speaks to the handcraftedness of Valentino. And I think that's why the brand is so special, besides Pier Paolo's, you know, exciting haute couture collections. In that regard, I think having this sort of sheer dress paired with a black bra and bottom, I think it works. I understand it. I do think that there are more exciting looks that could have most definitely been pulled, not particularly from the ready-to-wear collections. This is probably one of the most exciting looks from the ready-to-wear collections, but I don't know, like, give me an old haute couture look. I'm not gonna be upset. Listen, I appreciate that a risk was taken and attempted. I appreciate that there are really nice little sort of subtle details to this, whether it's the sort of shape of this little lattice motif or the fact that there's the lace on it. But overall, I think it's missing a little something something. Maybe if we'd had one of those really high, crazy sort of shimmery boots from the haute couture collection or some sort of like crazy Valentino headpiece attached, I could have really like lived, laughed, loved it. But in this moment, it just feels a little bit flat. Next up is Ciara, and she is wearing, I don't know, and I think maybe that's for the best. It's a silver shimmery rhinestone cat suit with a black waist belt. Here's my thing. First off, Ciara, you are wearing a jumpsuit that fits you like a glove. There is no need for a belt. Your waist is its own belt. You don't need, it's not necessary. It's not needed. The knee-high boots, listen, I understand. I almost wish that whoever made this sort of had just turned this into like a socked onesie, sort of went right into a strappy sort of sandal. But the boot, I don't know. I don't think it's as exciting. I don't think it's as fun. I don't know who decided that we were gonna use the black zipper right up the side. I understand why it's there. It's a zipper, it's necessary, but we could have rhinestoned it. Wouldn't be that much of a problem, wouldn't be that much of an issue. Overall, I almost wish that maybe if we had to see the black line of the boot and, you know, the waist belt, that maybe the fabrics matched or correlated in some way. Listen, Ciara looks stunning as a human being, absolutely, but so does everybody on this red carpet. Like, there's not a person that I'm gonna sit here and be like, wow, they look terrible in terms of like their person, their hair, their makeup, because that's not my job. But clothing-wise, it's blah, it's boring, it's disappointing, and I feel like I've seen Ciara in like actual turned-out fashion moments previously, and by previously I mean probably in the last year, so like this to me is slacking. This to me is a little bit lazy. This to me is just not as exciting as it should be. Does it fit her like a glove? Yes, absolutely, and for that, I can appreciate it, but nothing about the design, integrity, technique, forward-thinking ideas comes through in a way that's, I don't know, commendable. But it fits well, and so hats off for that. Next up is DaBaby, and he is wearing Prada. I believe that this is from the fall 2021 menswear collection by Miuccia Prada and Raf Simons. It could be the women's wear collection, but I'm also not sure. Listen, I love these little Phi coats. Phi, if you guys do not know, is a really sort of stunning, beautiful little lined fabric. So essentially it has little sort of rivets. It's almost like if you took a car and just tread it right through some sand or whatever, you'd see the lines of the tire in the sand. That's sort of what, you know, Phi is. So you can't see it because this photo is a little bit overexposed, but if we zoom in really close up, we can see those lines that come through. And in reality, I really like that aspect of it. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. I like the fact that DaBaby isn't like always in a full look by a brand. It's usually some sort of like styling of his own moment, which I respect because honestly, it's nice to see a runway look off the runway on a person, but it's also nice to see somebody actually like style themselves. So the pants underneath, I'm not really sure what they are, but the fact that I can see some sort of like Playboy or what I would presume is a Playboy sort of picture, and then on the other leg we can see a sort of like cut out little scrap. Personally, it reminds me of Raf Simons' collage work. A lot of his work sort of utilizes collage sort of styles, whether it's artists like Andy Warhol, Robert Mapplethorpe, whoever else you can think of. I have a t-shirt that has like a picture of young Raf with like very shaggy hair. Personally, the pants are giving me Raf Simons-esque moments there, and so I'm not really mad about them playing off of the Raf Simons and Miuccia Prada coat. He's wearing an Amiri hat that has a rainbow on it. Listen, DaBaby is an ally. We love that for us. You have a sort of big chunky necklace and a simple sort of black boot. I'm seeing the Raf Simons-y sort of moments in there, and I can appreciate that. I really love the coat. The shoes and the hat and the chain and the turtleneck, we could work on it. We could do a little bit more in the styling department there. Next up is Eboni Obsidian, and I actually do not know who she is wearing, but I have to say, I'm not super duper mad about this cutout dress. I like it. I think that there is an interesting aspect of it that the construction of it does not require any sort of mesh at the back to sort of hold that up. It doesn't require any sort of string from what I can see. And to me, that is good construction because honestly, usually when you have a cutout sort of moment, there's some sort of other element of fabric sort of pulling at the back that holds it all up. So the fact that I can't really see what's going on there, I like it. It's sort of like a fashion mystery and I am willing to let it never be solved. I'm into it. I like the straps. I think they're fun. They're symmetrical. That always helps. The skirt, I'm not obsessed with only because I think the slit right up the front is not super duper attractive in general. I understand we wanted more of like a train moment, but maybe like a double slit up the side could have been fun because again, you're sort of playing to this idea of cutouts on both sides. That's just me. But the reason that I really wanted to talk about this is the gloves. I mean, these black gloves with these little feathers flying off of it in this nice little minty pistachio green are very hot. I love them. I think they're super duper fun. I think they're super duper exciting. I love that the glove love is still being kept and promoted and appreciated. The color of those I think is great. I think it's the most beautiful little subtle detail to sort of bring a little pop of color that you're sort of like, huh? It makes you look. And I think that's what a good fashion accessory does. You want to look at it. You want to dig a little bit deeper. You want to find out where it's from. The green matches the green of the earrings. I like it. Overall, I won't say that it's a revolutionary look, but again, I think the fact that there are elements of the actual construction that concern me and confuse me at the same time, and I'm intrigued, and I think that's smart. I think the accessorization is brilliant, stunning, amazing. I genuinely want those gloves. To me, that makes a good red carpet look. Next up is Flo Milli, and she is wearing Natalia Fedner. Now this, I believe, is a sort of chainmail style that is meant to mirror the motif of a python, which in reality, like, I don't hate, I must say. I don't think it's exactly the most exciting, over-the-top, extravagant look that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I also have to say for Flo Milli, I expect like a little bit more for a red carpet moment. I feel like this is the time to like shine, to go fully crazy, over the top, ridiculous, kooky. This to me is playing it a little bit safe for her. Like I do expect moments, and I feel like throughout this red carpet we've had moments. I mean, we'll get to Lil Nas in a little bit. There are moments to be had, and to me this just feels a little bit blah in that regard. I don't dislike the dress. I don't dislike the sheerness of it. I think think the motif is interesting and nice. It's fun to see it in a sort of chainmail effect. But for Flo Milli, as I've said, like, I just expect, I like cash and my hair to my ass. Like that's, I want a moment. I want something that I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like I expect top tier fashion, crazy, kooky, over the top. And I think that there are definitely some cool vintage moments that we could have seen in this regard for Flo Milli. Next up is Giveon. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I also believe he's wearing Chanel. Now this is a jacket that reminds me of piping that we saw during Chanel's Resort 2021 collection, I believe. It was probably like the first Chanel resort or cruise collection that was shown in lookbook form, I think, ever. And in reality, like these jackets with this nice sort of leather piping that almost looks like a thick thread of black leather going through all of this white piping is actually really, really nice. I think it's sweet. I think it looks good. I have to say, I think the collarless jacket is nice. Whatever this knit is, maybe it's like a waffle sort of moment going on there. I can't really tell. I like it. I don't love the little pin on the pocket, even though it probably is a reference to the famed shape of the Chanel No. 5 bottle. Like I understand that, but I don't love it. The pants I think could fit a little bit better. And I also think that honestly, if we'd gotten them in that sort of waffly knit too, that would have been really, really nice. And the shoes, again, also think could be a little bit more exciting. I know Chanel doesn't do menswear, which I don't think they do Chanel menswear for ready-to-wear. I think though, if you are a man and you have a lot of money, you can go to Chanel and get whatever you want. I do wish we were seeing a little bit more of a better fitted pant or something that correlates more to the jacket. And also something about the shoe, I feel like could have been a little bit more interesting. I would have liked to see a shoe maybe that was in that sort of two-tone style that is very famous of Chanel, the sort of like khaki beige style with the black, and it's very like Coco Chanel herself. Bad person. Can't say that I don't think that a lot of what she did was very revolutionary in the fashion sphere. Again, bad person. But I think that could have tied into these sort of, you know, little Chanel moments more so. You know what? It would have been nice with the black and the white in a two-tone shoe. That could have been really, really cool. I just wish Chanel would make menswear. I'm not saying they have to make like a crazy amount, but I wish they go back to that Karl Lagerfeld age where like there were maybe like 4 or 5 male models that would walk on the runway and show like, oh, Chanel also can make clothing for men. Virginia's sort of like taken that out a bit, and so I'd like for that to be brought back in, because otherwise you have things like this that I appreciate, but don't really hit the mark in the way that they should. So next up is H.E.R, and she is wearing Giorgio Armani. Now the thing about H.E.R is sometimes it's a moment like that beautiful Peter Dundas, you know, Purple Rain, Prince referenced moment that we saw recently, and then sometimes it's just a little bit like, what's happening here? I need to understand. I am confused. Today, I'm a little bit confused. So you have a Armani blazer and it's full of sequins. They're tiny, 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 tiny little sequins. I must say, like, they are stunning. Like, they are beautiful. The fact that you can actually get such tiny sequins and get them sewn onto a jacket is a little bit deranged to me, but that's just me. And in reality, to me, it speaks to the sort of beauty and luxuriousness of Armani. It's not gonna be over the top and crazy and kooky and avant-garde. It's just gonna be nice clothing. Then you have these little cage pants. They almost look like a plaid sort of grid motif, but they have the black sequins. Listen, I won't say the look is revolutionary, that it's amazing, spectacular, fantastic, but I do actually think that this is a fun sort of diversion from the normalcy of Armani. I think the fact that the pants play into the jacket, they're similar, they make sense, but at the same time, it's a sheer sort of pant that you can see all the way through. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked at how sheer the fabric is. In reality, I actually think that it looks nice together. I think it's fun. I think it's a little bit risky. It's a little bit frisky. I think for Armani, that's different. The saying by Anna Wintour goes, Armani dressed the wife and Versace dressed the mistress. And I think in this regard, Mr. Armani is like, listen, I too can dress the mistress. Don't get it twisted. Thank you very much. Next up is Issa Rae, and she's wearing Balmain. Now you can tell that it is Balmain because of these pagoda shoulders. They are these quite sharp, upturned little shoulders on this blazer jacket dress. The other thing is you can tell that it's Balmain because it's a blazer jacket dress with double-breasted buttons. But if you look up really close, you can see the Balmain sort of logo etched or embossed or woven in there. It's just not something that you can see from a distance, which I actually kind of like. I think logomania is not something that I personally am drawn to, but the fact that the logo is still there, it's just something you kind of have to look for, is far better than if it's just on there in black and, you know, you could see the logo all over it. I think this is much more fun. I think this is much more discreet. I think it's really, really cool. It allows the actual blazer jacket dress to shine just for its silhouette. I don't think it's revolutionary. I don't think it's super duper amazing. I don't think it's something that I personally would have picked out for Issa Rae. Overall, I appreciate taking a little bit of a risk here, and I also appreciate Issa Rae not looking like a coat hanger with the pagoda shoulders, because I've tried them on, a pagoda shoulder jacket. It's very hard to pull it off, so like I do have the utmost respect for anybody that can, but overall, I expect a little bit more from Miss Issa Rae. Next up is Jennifer Hudson. She's wearing Dolce & Gabbana. Listen, the belt, it's there, it's gold, it's big, it's metal. It's sort of like a bandage dress with a little off-the-shoulder cape, which to me is like, ooh, we're Italian, we want to be like Valentino. Meh, and also like it's Dolce, so meh. Next up is Lil Kim, and she is wearing Dolce & Gabbana. Again, not great. But I will say, I do like the idea of Lil Kim wearing these like cutaway tailored coats. I think it's really fun. I think it's a really cute silhouette for her. My thing is, instead of working with Dolce & Gabbana, why is she not wearing custom Alexander McQueen? Alexander McQueen, Lil Kim, they loved each other, they were friends. Alexander McQueen literally bowed down to her on stage once. Like, that to me is something that I'd like to see. I feel like Lil Kim should 100% be in Alexander McQueen as often as she needs and or wants. So, Sarah Burton, do me a favor, let's make that happen. Next up is Lil Nas X, honestly probably the winner of the night. I am obsessed with this Richard Quinn Fall 2021 fully embroidered flare suit. If you guys have not seen Richard Quinn's latest collection, it's stunning. In reality, to me, it's a lot of the same sort of styles that we have seen over and over and over again from Richard Quinn, but I think when you are a young brand that is not owned by a conglomerate or not being funded by, I don't know, like a crazy amount of money from a billionaire, it's important for a designer to reestablish their work and their styles and their signatures over and over and over again, because it's a way for the audience, the clientele, and the customer to recognize their work. And to me, the fact that I know that this is Richard Quinn as soon as I see it, in reality means that that's working. So it's a fully embroidered suit. You can see these beautiful red and pink roses with green foliage all throughout. And then it's encrusted with these beautiful silver diamonds that go all throughout. It pipes pockets, cuffs, the hem of the jacket, the flares. It's really, really stunning. It has this sort of lovely 1970s style to it, but with this sort of over-the-top British, gross, amazing, like just far too muchness at the same time. I think Lil Nas X is exciting. He's fun. He's never one to shy away from a look. And I think Richard Quinn makes a lot of sense in that regard. I think that the fit of it is beautiful, it's stunning, and especially because it's probably very heavy. I mean, the amount of crystals on this means it's gonna weigh a lot. Like, it's going to be something you have to really carry, and I mean, not even carry as in like, he's carrying the look. I mean, like, he's literally carrying the clothing on his body. So in that regard, I think Lil Nas turned it out. I think it looks stunning. I think it's so fun. It's so beautiful when you see it up close and personal too, like seeing all the little details of the little tiny embroidered bits of silver all throughout. I feel like there's just always a place to look that seems new and exciting and different on a garment like this. I think it's fun. I think it's amazing. I'm obsessed with it. And then Lil Nas X did what Lil Nas X does best, which is troll. And here you have an Andrea Grossi modern toile de juillet full panier gown with jacket and corset. So the toile de juillet, if you guys do not know, is a French sort of style, which I believe was adapted from, pretty positive it was like Chinese silk sort of motifs and depict everyday life. Normally they are in white and blue. I think it's a fun sort of reference. It definitely has a lot of 18th century French notions to it. But here, Andrea Grossi really wanted to update it and modernize the idea of the toile de juillet. And so here, if we zoom in, we can actually see a lot of his main references, which are anime, manga, cartoons, etc., etc. It is fun and it's different and it's exciting, and normally when you look at 12 Juillet, it's usually quite feminine. And so I feel like bringing in an anime, manga, cartoon that is very violent and very like about, you know, fighting and killing and throwing knives and stars and stuff like that gives it much more of a sort of masculine feeling at the same time. I think it's really, really fun. I know people will obviously have a problem with it, but I think that's what Lil Nas X loves. And also, again, if you're like gendering pieces of fabric, it's just weird. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, they don't have pronouns. It's a piece of cloth. I don't get it. But in reality, again, Lil Nas X always turning out, always being exciting, always being fun, always being frisky. I like the fact that he is uplifting up-and-coming designers. I think it's really cool, really amazing. I'm a fan. Next up, we have Lil Uzi Vert and JT. So we'll start with JT. The look is, it's just discombobulated. It's a hot mess. There's like a strap, there's a shoulder, there's a cutout. It's just a lot. I think the idea of the silver in all different elements, so whether you have this sort of grid of embroidery, the pearls, these sort of bigger shards that look like almost like a broken mirror or broken glass. It's just, I don't think it works in the way that we want it to. I think between all of the cutouts and the strap and the shoulder and the sleeve, I think you want that to either be the center aspect of the garment. Or if you want the sort of all different styles of embroidery to be the center aspect of the garment, choose that, but you can't have both. It's just, it's too much, it's over the top, it doesn't look strong, it doesn't look exciting, it doesn't look interesting, it looks a little bit off the rack, and that's very sad. Lil Uzi Vert, honestly, I am not usually a fan of the mismatch all over the place style, but that also is Lil Uzi Vert's sort of signature. He's never one to just throw a bunch of things that don't make sense together. In reality, it usually has a theme, and so for me, the theme here is this idea of outdoor sort of styles and aesthetics and garments. So you have a camo cargo pant, you have a quilted sort of green jacket that to me sort of is reminiscent of that old British aristocracy, you know, shooting ducks and stuff, etc. Then you have little brown Tims, which again, I think sort of play into this idea of outdoors. You have a little bandana. I mean, honestly, I kind of like the bandana. I like the cutouts in the bandana. I like the little eye holes in the bandana. I think it's very fun. I think it's very different. I think it's very exciting. To me, it makes sense in the context of Lil Uzi Vert. It's not something that I normally would say, oh my God, wow, a good red carpet look. But I think when I think about what Lil Uzi Vert wears, it makes so much sense in his own sort of style and aesthetic. Next up is Lonnie Chavis, and I believe he is wearing Dior, and I'm pretty positive he's wearing Dior, not only because the cut of the suit, but also because the sneakers have the Dior monogram on them. Honestly, I like this suit. I have to say, I think Kim Jones is sort of updating tailoring in a way that feels fun, it feels different, it's not stagnant, it's not boring, it's not stuffy. So I like the fact that this is like a pull-over jacket. It's sort of cinched in at the waist, and there's some sort of ribbon on the side that falls down. Listen, I don't always love a ribbon, but it's not a belt. And so in that regard, I will take it because it's not a belt on something at Dior. I'll be happy with it. The pants, I think, could fit much better. I hate the way that they crunch up at the bottom. A tailor, always welcome. It doesn't hurt, especially when you're wearing a suit. The sneakers, I don't know if they work as well. I understand maybe we want a pop of some sort of color, but I think maybe a sneaker in a darker colorway would make a bit more sense. I want to like it, and I like the jacket, but I think the rest of the look is not as refined as it needs to be in order to actually give a good solid look. Next up is Marsai Martin, and she is wearing Anakiki. Listen, this I believe is styled by Jason Rembert, who runs Aliette. Now I'm at the place where if Jason Rembert's Aliette collections are strong, you're allowed to put people in your own stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I know you know that, but I'm at the point now where it's like this strange orange tulle collar moment, sleeve, shoulder situation. It's not cute, it's not good, it's not exciting, it's strange, it's weird. The fact that you can see like the corset underneath it is also strange and weird. I'd rather we had just gone full sort of fan silhouette of this tulle. I wish it all just sort of came out like that, because it feels like discombobulated here, and then you have like a black pant. And I don't hate the black pant. I like it. I think it's actually kind of cute. I think it fits well. I like the fact that it has utility pockets and that sort of fold over utility thing, the strap or whatever that is. And I don't even like asymmetry. But I do think that overall it's just very discombobulated. It doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. It's like bright, fun, funky, then a corset, and then black utility. It's not understandable. It's not palatable. Next up is Megan Thee Stallion, and she is wearing Jean Paul Gaultier. I believe that this is a custom look. Now, you can tell that it's Gaultier because of this cone bra sort of reference. You can see the spirals in the bra cups. That's obviously a reference back to Jean Paul Gaultier's very iconic sort of Madonna cone bra. You have these sort of silver straps that sort of come down and hold up the dress. Silver sort of straps on the side that expose the waist and the hips and parts of the legs. And then just a sort of white little sheet that comes down and covers the frontage. I do think that for Megan, showing off her body is always going to be something that she usually will gravitate towards. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I think in reality it's a part of her current aesthetic, and so I respect it. I think adapting a Jean Paul Gaultier sort of signature to fit you is important. I will say I don't think that the dress, at least this piece of white, off-white, ivory, sort of creamish fabric that just falls down the front, is as exciting as it should be. I don't think it's really that cool. I don't think it really works in the way that they want it to. But at the same time with Megan, it's like baby steps fashion-wise. And you know what? If this is a way that we're moving forward, I will take it. I will be happy with it. I do want it to be better. I do think that there's a bit of discombobulation between the silver straps and the front panel of fabric and the cone bra moment. Discombobulated doesn't really make all that much sense to me, but I do think that there is an overall vibe that Megan is going for here, and it's a vibe that I understand, I'd like to see more of, but I want it to be refined. I want it to be something that is actually very well done, where nobody can say, oh my God, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, because when you look at this originally, you're saying, oh my God, what is that? And when you look at it closely and you know a little bit of history about Gaultier, you can find certain elements of it that are workable and understandable. When you look at Megan's own sort of style and history, you can see things that are workable and understandable. But overall, it does need a lot of work. Next up is Michael K. Williams. I don't know who he's wearing. I feel like he's wearing like H.E.R. or something like that, because you have this little stripe moment of like purple. It looks like nice little light green. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's funky. I like that it reflects. I like that it's a three-piece suit. There's not anything really super amazing over the top about it, but at the same time, I think that it's subtle enough, but still catches your eye enough to be a nice men's suit that's not boring. Next up, let's talk about Migos. They are all wearing Bottega Veneta. Now, I'm pretty positive that Takeoff is wearing this leather look. In reality, he's not wearing the long jacket. He's wearing like the shorter jacket underneath. But my thing is, listen, if you're wearing Bottega and it's leather, it's more than likely very beautiful. Bottega takes their leather very, very seriously. I will say, I don't think that the t-shirt underneath is like super duper exciting or fun. And I know that like it was hot out, so I understand not putting on the second leather jacket. I do think the pants could have fit a little bit better. I think the jacket is okay. It's not like amazing. It's not spectacular. And I do sort of wish that we had had not a sneaker, but more of like a boot moment from Bottega. I feel like that would have tied it all together. And I also feel like the pants would have fell differently with a boot moment. But overall, honestly, Takeoff's look, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Then we have Quavo, and he's wearing these sort of moto style jacket and pants set. It has a green t-shirt underneath, and under the zips, you can actually see little pieces of green lining, which I feel like is fun. It ties back into the shirt. It ties into the little rain boot, or whatever they're called, the Bottega little rain boots. I don't know if they have a name, if they don't. But I feel like that's really fun. I feel like it's really, really exciting. I think the pre-fall collection was really, really cool, but it's also very commercial. And the fact that, honestly, this look is actually exciting, it's different, it's kind of funky. I feel like it works. I feel like it makes a case for a nice pre-fall moment and that it doesn't have to be boring. And then finally, you have Offset on the far end, and he is wearing a green look as well. I believe this is a leather, and he's wearing a matching pant that sort of scrunches till it gets to the boot. Listen, again, I feel like the pants are probably a little bit too long, but at least when you have the pants that are too long, the stiffness of that fabric does sort of scrunch and hold some sort of shape, which I think is better than just falling and looking kind of flat and floppy like Takeoffs. So in reality, listen, I like seeing Bottega on the red carpet. I think it's fun. I don't think they were crazy, kooky, over the top amazing, but I also don't think that they were bad, boring, banal looks either. Next up is Pressa and Coi Leray. Now, Pressa, I don't know who he is wearing, but honestly, I'm not like super duper mad about it. I like the little waist jacket. I think it's cool. I think it makes sense. I like the jeans. They feel fun. I like the pockets. The sneakers, I'm not mad about either. Overall, it's kind of fun. Now, Coi Leray is wearing Hood by Air. I'm pretty positive, at least in the pant section. I'm obsessed with the pants. I like the sort of big utilitarian pocket. I like the sort of curved cuff pant moment going on here. I think they're really fun. I feel like it plays into this sort of deconstruction aspect of Hood by Air. Hood by Air isn't deconstruction in terms of like, oh, you burned a part of your sweater or you ripped something up. I'm currently wearing Hood by Air. It's a great brand. I'm happy that Shane Oliver has brought it back. But the thing about Hood by Air to me is like there are always elements that play into deconstruction in a way where you get to choose what's deconstructed, but at the same time, it's not destroyed deconstruction. It's rather you get to work with the garment that you have to give it multiple sort of purposes and layers. So the fact that I can like sort of zip up my hoodie. And so that's my thing. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it works. The top, I don't know if it's Hood by Air, but if it is, I'm very happy. If it's not, I'm also very happy. I think it's cool. I think it's a fun way to do asymmetry. I think it's interesting top. I can't tell if it's like a plastic. I presume it's sort of a plasticky or a leather. And then I like the fact that the shoes have little orange moments that correlate up top. In reality, I think they both look really cool. I think that they both sort of have tapped into this sort of futuristic workwear moment. Feels casual, but at the same time ready for a red carpet. I like it. Next up, Queen Latifah. One of my favorite looks of the night. She's wearing Thom Browne. She looks great. She looks so great. I'm so happy about this. This like, you can tell the way I'm smiling, like this gives me genuine joy. So she's wearing a tailored coat, but the coat at the arm sleeves have a button and they flare out so you can actually put your arms out. There's like a specific technical name for this sort of jacket that's like a cape. I don't know it off the top of my head, so sorry. But I love it. I think it's super duper fun. I think it's super duper exciting. I like the fact that Queen Latifah does not care that it's really hot out. She is here to serve a moment, and a moment is being served. There's a button-down shirt underneath. We love a Thom Browne button-down. And then you have a little pleated skirt that has some sort of high sock moment and a stunning Thom Browne high boot that looks a little bit like a loafer. In reality, Queen Latifah looks amazing. It's super fun. It's this interesting take on sort of corporate wear, these really sort of old, conservative, tailored aspects that now are brought into like a fun, cool, exciting style. I think, honestly, if people want the suit to continue on, Thom Browne is the way that your suit should continue on. I love it. I think it's cool. I think it references like fun school uniforms, but at the same time is not like sad, depressing Catholic school uniform. It's exciting, it's uplifting, it's different, it's serious, it is dressed up. It's just this totally different take on dressing up, and in that regard, I'm obsessed. Next up is Roddy Rich. I don't know who he's wearing, but I love it. I really do. Like this set, I don't want to call it a suit because it's not really a suit. It's like, again, a workwear sort of style. You have the pockets, you have cargos that have pockets. I love it. I don't know what the fabric is, but it has this sort of stiff thickness to it, but at the same time, it's not rigid, which I feel like gives it this fun sort of shape. So as it crinkles and wrinkles down, it like weirdly enough works. I will say they're a little bit long. They could have been tailored a bit at the bottom. I feel like that would have let them flow and fall a lot better. But I love the jacket and I love the pant. I feel like there's something about the silver hardware from the zipper to the pockets to even the fact that there's a big sort of RR necklace. I think it makes sense. I think it all plays in together. I like the use of the Jordans. I think they look really, really sweet. I think they look really, really cool. They're not trying to like take over or be like the center of attention, but I feel like it still sort of does bring back this, you know, beauty and love and gorgeousness of the streetwear and sneaker sort of culture that very much so was invented by Black people and the Black community. In reality, I love it. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks really interesting. I think it's a great example of you don't have to do over-the-top, avant-garde, blah, 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 to make it look nice. Next up is Saweetie, and she is wearing vintage Dolce & Gabbana, I believe. Now, this was pointed out by the Instagram and Twitter account Fendi Faggot. In reality, this is a look from, I believe, like a 2003 Dolce collection. I don't love it. On the runway back in 2003, it looks better. I think just because the lighting is different. I think it shines far more in that runway picture. And I also think that the fabric, which looks like it was some sort of reflective silk, so it would have been woven with some sort of reflective material so that it had the light bounce off of it. I think it looks better there. I don't know if this is actually vintage or this was just recreated by Dolce & Gabbana for that purpose, but I do wish that this fabric was a lot lighter. I think I wish it had a more reflective tone to it. I just think there are moments about it that I understand the reference, and I think it's great that we want to reference, and I love that Saweetie is referencing, you know, vintage styles from way back when. I think the actual construction of it is not as exciting or appealing. I think the color, that purpley color versus that dark blue that you look back at, again, it's the lighting of the show versus this red carpet, but I like the previous. I do appreciate the elements that are brought in. I have to say, like, I haven't seen something like this, that sort of crinkled and wrinkled sort of gold metallic fabric like that, I think ever, probably. So in that regard, I do appreciate that. I appreciate that it's different. I feel like it's trying to bring back this sort of like early 2000s glamour, which I can appreciate, but I don't think it's as spectacular as the original. And that's the hard thing. When you're doing a recreation, it has to be as spectacular and or better. Next up is 7 Streeter, and she is wearing I don't know, but I think it's interesting. Listen, I don't think it's revolutionary. I think it's pretty much a sort of sheer fabric that is covered in some sort of embellishments. They almost look like little pearls or rhinestones that have been like cut in half and placed on. I like the fact that we have a sort of dip so that we're giving full sort of torso. I feel like it's fun. Again, I feel like it's a reference back to the sort of early 2000s era of showing off an amazing body. All bodies are amazing, but I think, you know, in this moment, that's what that's trying to reference. The halter style that's like crossed, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think the fabric is just sort of throwing me off. It's just a little bit too like glitter pretty. It's just not doing for me what I would love for it to do. Yeah, no, it's just not, it's there. You know what I mean? It's not exciting. It's not appalling, but it's also not exciting. Next up is Summer Walker, and again, I do not know who she is wearing, but this to me feels very of the moment and not in a bad way. I like the fact that you have this sort of sheer stretch material, and the stretch material is actually being allowed to create texture and pattern and motif on the actual dress. To me, it sort of has this like Charles Jamesian sort of moment where in reality, Charles James allowed his stitches and his seams to actually be the things that contoured the body. And I feel like here in this regard, the way that certain elements are ruched allows these different sort of aspects of the body to be highlighted. So whether it is the breast cup or the different elements of the ruching on the waist, I feel like it's a fun sort of moment. I feel like it's not horrible. I do think there are other colors that could have been utilized. I do think black will always look really, really nice when you're doing this sort of moment. I do think the light icy blue isn't exactly amazing, but I like where it's going. I like the idea of it, and I feel like it's allowing the fabric to actually be the thing that guides the look along. So in that regard, I can appreciate that. Next up is Taraji P. Henson, and she is wearing Versace. Now you can tell that it's Versace because of this Baroque Coco motif. Now, Gianni Versace, while he was still alive, was constantly sort of updating this Baroque Coco sort of moment. I call it Baroque Coco because it's this like mixture of Baroque and Rococo. But he would always bring in different elements. So if it was an Under the Sea collection, there would be sea stars and clams and shellfish and all that sort of stuff. If it was, I don't know, something else, he'd bring in elements that sort of create this new sort of take on this silk scarf. So I appreciate that that is what is being done here, not the updates on it, but utilizing a very signature Versace motif in the look. I do think that the way that it's a wrap skirt and a wrap sort of top is really fun, and I love the way that you can see that pink that on the bra sort of wraps in and falls right into this gold, and then the gold wraps in. I feel like that's really nice. I feel like that's very carefully considered, and so I can appreciate that, but I think that we needed to do something different besides the sort of sheer black styles underneath. I think that the opaque styles really throw it off. So whether it's under the breast here, or if it's trying to be like a sort of shoulder asymmetrical strap detail, or coming out from the slit. And then also, I don't know why this boning is here, A, but B is sort of sequined. I just feel like it draws so much attention, and I feel like you're fighting. I feel like it's almost two different dresses that are fighting for attention, but it's all in one dress, and that's my problem is, listen, the Baroque Coco silk scarf is enough. You don't need to add anything else really to it. I just wish they'd maybe made a super duper refined sort of style like this. I feel like that would have been really fun and really exciting and really cool, but everything underneath just sort of takes away from that, and I think that's a real problem. Next up is Tyler, the Creator, and he is wearing, I actually don't know, but again, it's sort of like very signature Tyler, the Creator. He's wearing his little sort of trapper hat in fur, which I feel like is very him. He has a little white t-shirt, a sort of pink and red leopard sweater vest, which like, hey, I respect a sweater vest. He's carrying bags, and I feel like he's always sort of carrying suitcases or something like that. It's very Tyler, the Creator. A sort of little penny loafer moment and a white sock and a black short. There's not really anything crazy. There's not really anything super exciting. It's just Tyler, the Creator, doing him. So next up is Zendaya, and she is wearing vintage Versace. Now this is from the spring 2003 collection, I believe, and Beyonce actually wore this originally, or a style like this originally. This was pointed out by not only Laura Roach, who is Zendaya's image architect, and it was also pointed out by Zendaya Style Files, which is an account that follows and details all of Zendaya's looks, outfits, styles, shoes, hair, makeup. But the dress, listen, I like that Law sort of pulls things out of his archive. He really does sort of have great moments that I'm very appreciative of often. I do think that the dress is very early 2000s. I mean, the purple, the neon green, the pink sort of strap. I would say if there wasn't as much color going on, I personally would love it. I understand it is Versace, and so color, over the top, sort of clashing motifs and styles, it makes sense. I got it. I understand. It's not a bad dress. It's not a tacky dress. It's not a horrible dress. I think that in reality, again, the sort of early 2000s are coming back. We're seeing it more and more on the runway. So I get why it's happening. Do I think that it's Zendaya's best fashion moment I've ever seen in my entire life? No. Do I think that there are elements of it that I can appreciate and like and I don't think is horrible? Yes. With that, that is the end of today's video. Let's talk about our best and worst looks of the night. The best, I'm gonna give it to Lil Nas X's Richard Quinn look, just because there's so much of it. There's so much motif, there's so much thatness, there's just so much to look at that it's enjoyable. But Queen Latifah in Tom Brown was a close second. Also Coi Leray, really like, I love that. Worst look of the night, I'm gonna give it to Marsai Martin, just because I think there was so much that could have been done with that look to make it look cohesive and fun and exciting and cool, and you know, it just didn't do that. The tulle thing is kind of over. Listen, I'm all about, you know, wear whatever you want, live your best life, yada, 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 great, 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 great. But like with tulle, if you want it to be cool and exciting and over the top and great and wonderful, you gotta do something new with it. And if you're not, it's just gonna be blah. I think just the whole look was not cohesive. It didn't really make a lot of sense together. I was just confused by it. And so I want better. But that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what some of your favorites and least favorites were in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next one, and TTYL.